Welcome to Skytech-Lens. A major shift is underway in North America's auto industry. For decades, Japanese automakers like Toyota, Honda, and Subaru built millions of vehicles in the US, employing tens of thousands. Now these companies are redirecting investments in production north to Canada. This isn't a retreat but a strategic move for stability and predictability. Trade volatility and new US tariffs have made American operations riskier and more expensive. Canada's stable policy environment offers a safer bet for long-term planning. This realignment will shape where the next generation of vehicles, including hybrids and EVs, are built and exported. The stakes are high. The US risks losing jobs and investment, while Canada stands to become a global automotive powerhouse. The main driver of this shift: US protectionist trade policy. Tariffs on imported vehicles and parts have made it costly for Japanese automakers to operate in the US. Some tariffs can push costs up by nearly 50% per vehicle, costing Japanese brands billions each year. Even with minor relief, the overall policy remains a major burden. The constant threat of new tariffs and regulatory changes makes long-term planning nearly impossible. As a result, automakers, including Ford and GM, are delaying investments and seeking alternatives. Canada, with its stable trade environment, is the logical choice. The US model that once dominated is now being challenged by its own policies. Ironically, efforts to protect American industry are driving key players away. Subaru's Outback is a perfect example of this shift. For years, Indiana built Outbacks for both US and Canadian markets. In 2025, Subaru announced Canadian Outbacks would now come from Japan, not Indiana. Why? Tariffs made US-built cars for Canada 25% more expensive, while Japan to Canada imports are tariff-free. The result? Subaru slashed US to Canada exports, and Indiana lost a chunk of business overnight. This move signaled a new era. Companies are willing to fragment supply chains to avoid tariffs. Now, a car built in America can cost more for Canadians than one shipped from Japan. The unintended consequence: US policy is pushing manufacturing and exports out of the country. Canada is the clear winner in this new strategy. While the US builds tariff walls, Canada builds trade bridges. Canada's free trade deals, like the CPTPP and agreements with the EU, make it a global export hub. Automakers in Canada can export to Europe and Asia with fewer tariffs than from the US. This open approach gives Canada a clear competitive edge. Stable policies and government support make Canada attractive for billion-dollar long-term investments. Toronto is emerging as a hub for research, analytics, and supply chain management. As a result, more vehicles sold in Canada are built outside North America, while US-built cars lose market share. Canada's open trade is reshaping both investment and consumer choices. Japanese automakers' strategic shift is fueling an unprecedented economic boom in Ontario, transforming the province into a global automotive hub. Once known primarily for its traditional manufacturing, Ontario is now at the forefront of the electric and hybrid vehicle revolution, attracting attention from industry leaders and investors worldwide. Over $14 billion has poured into Canadian automotive operations in recent years, with a sharp focus on expanding hybrid and electric vehicle production. This massive investment is not only modernizing existing plants but also driving the construction of state-of-the-art facilities equipped with cutting-edge technology. Ontario now proudly hosts 7 major Japanese automotive plants, supporting more than 30,000 high-paying skilled jobs. These positions offer stability and growth for Canadian workers, while also attracting new talent to the region. The impact of this automotive surge ripples far beyond the factory floor. Local suppliers, logistics companies, and small businesses are thriving as demand for parts, transportation, and services continues to climb. Canada has emerged as a net exporter of Japanese brand vehicles, shipping millions of cars to markets around the world each year. This export boom is strengthening Canada's trade relationships and boosting its reputation as a reliable automotive partner. Automakers are increasingly using Canada as a strategic base to bypass US tariffs, making export-oriented manufacturing the new industry standard. This shift is reshaping North American automotive supply chains. While advanced vehicle design and research may remain in Japan, high-volume production is now firmly rooted in Canadian soil. This partnership blends Japanese innovation with Canadian manufacturing excellence. Canadian ports like Vancouver and Halifax have become vital export gateways, connecting North American-made vehicles to customers across Europe, Asia, and beyond. Canada is no longer just a branch plant for foreign automakers. It's a central node in the global automotive network, driving innovation, production, and international trade. As investment and innovation continue to accelerate, Canada's role as an automotive powerhouse is only growing, promising a bright future for the industry and the country as a whole. American consumers are feeling the cost of these trade policies. Tariffs on vehicles and parts mean higher prices at the dealership and the repair shop. New cars cost more because automakers pay more for imported components. Even basic maintenance, brake pads, filters, tires, has become pricier. For many families, these rising costs are a real burden. Studies show tariffs can double the final price of a vehicle through compounding effects. Higher prices hurt demand, force dealers to discount, and put US-built cars at a disadvantage, even at home. The policy meant to protect American industry is making car ownership more expensive for Americans. It's a classic case of unintended consequences rippling through the economy. This isn't the first time US trade policy has reshaped the auto industry. In fact, the story of North American car manufacturing is one of constant adaptation to shifting political winds and economic pressures. Every few decades, new rules and regulations force automakers to rethink their strategies, and the ripple effects are felt far beyond US borders. In the 1980s, export quotas on Japanese cars led automakers to build factories in North America, especially Canada. These voluntary export restraints imposed by the US government were meant to protect domestic car makers from a flood of Japanese imports. But instead of slowing Japanese growth, the quotas encouraged companies like Honda and Toyota to set up shop closer to their biggest market. Honda and Toyota set up plants in Ontario, turning Canada into a major production hub. The move was strategic. Canada offered skilled labor, favorable trade agreements, and easy access to the US market. Soon, other Japanese automakers followed, and the landscape of Canadian manufacturing was transformed almost overnight. The Auto Pact, a landmark agreement between the US and Canada, gave Japanese firms a backdoor into the US market. By producing cars in Canada, they could sidestep American restrictions and tariffs, shipping vehicles south with minimal barriers. This clever workaround not only benefited Japanese automakers, but also fueled job growth and investment in Canadian communities. These moves transformed Canada's auto sector and set the stage for today's boom. What began as a response to protectionism became a long-term advantage. As Canada's reputation for quality manufacturing and reliability grew, the country became a magnet for global investment, and its auto industry flourished. Now, history repeats. US protectionism is again driving investment north. As new trade barriers and tariffs emerge, automakers are once more looking to Canada as a safe haven for their North American operations. The cycle of adaptation continues, with companies eager to secure their place in a changing market. The tools have changed, tariffs instead of quotas, but the outcome is familiar. Companies are shifting production, reworking supply chains, and investing in new facilities to stay competitive. The border may be the same, but the stakes are higher than ever, with billions of dollars and thousands of jobs on the line. Japanese automakers are doubling down on Canada as a stable, cost-effective base. They're expanding existing plants, building new ones, and deepening their ties with Canadian suppliers. For them, Canada offers not just proximity to the US, but also political stability and a skilled workforce ready for the next generation of automotive technology. The past is prologue. Trade barriers in the US keep making Canada the strategic winner. As long as protectionism shapes the rules of the game, Canada will remain a key player in the global auto industry, attracting investment and innovation from around the world. The cycle continues, with new technologies and global supply chains in play. Electric vehicles, automation, and sustainability are now at the forefront, but the underlying story remains the same. When trade policy shifts, the auto industry adapts, and Canada is ready to seize the opportunity once again. The auto industry's pivot to Canada is just the beginning. Other sectors, tech, electronics, medical devices, are watching and considering similar moves. Complex supply chains are vulnerable to US trade volatility. Canada's free trade network offers a safer, more predictable alternative. The renewable energy sector, from solar panels to batteries, is also eyeing Canada for future investment. In a world of geopolitical friction, supply chain resilience is everything. The auto industry shift could spark a broader realignment, making Canada a magnet for advanced manufacturing. The shift from the US to Canada marks a lasting realignment in North American industry. What was once a landscape dominated by American factories and assembly lines is now being transformed as Canada emerges as a new powerhouse in automotive manufacturing. This transition is not just a temporary response to recent economic pressures, but a fundamental change that could shape the future of the entire continent's auto sector for decades to come. What started as a reaction to tariffs and trade disputes has evolved into a proactive strategy for long-term stability and growth. American companies, once reluctant to move operations, are now seeking the predictability and opportunity that Canada offers. The closure of US plants, once unthinkable, is becoming a common sight, leaving communities searching for answers and new directions. Canada's stable policies, favorable trade agreements, and skilled workforce have made it the new automotive leader in North America. The country's commitment to innovation and sustainability is attracting both investment and talent, fueling a new era of growth. Canadian plants are running at full capacity, and new models are rolling off the lines at a record pace. For Canada, this means thousands of new jobs, increased investment in local communities, and a renewed sense of optimism for workers and their families. The expansion of factories and the construction of new facilities are signs of a thriving industry that is looking to the future. For the US, however, it's a warning sign, a signal that the country must adapt or risk falling behind. The sight of empty parking lots and shuttered gates is a stark reminder of the challenges facing American manufacturing. American consumers are already feeling the impact, facing higher prices and fewer choices as production shifts north. The cost of new vehicles is rising, putting pressure on families and businesses alike. Meanwhile, Canadians are benefiting from more competitive imports and a wider selection of vehicles. The influx of new models and lower prices is making car ownership more accessible for many. The once integrated North American market is fragmenting as new barriers and policies reshape the flow of goods and jobs. The border, once a symbol of partnership, is now a dividing line between two very different realities. On one side, there is growth and opportunity, on the other, uncertainty and decline. The contrast is striking, and the consequences are being felt in communities across both countries. This realignment echoes the past, when industries shifted and new leaders emerged, but today it carries new weight in a world defined by global supply chains, advanced technology, and the rapid rise of electric vehicles. The decisions made now will shape the industry for generations. The choices made now will determine whether the US regains its industrial edge, or watches opportunity drive north, leaving a new automotive future in Canada's hands. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates.